You're listening to the Wise Woman Podcast, Episode 5. I'm your host, Alisha Wilford, founder of Yoke and Abundance, a leadership, life, and creativity coaching business. This podcast is designed to inspire by introducing you to creative women living abundantly. I hope you'll savor Holli's words of wisdom as much as I have. I'm very excited to introduce you to my friend, Holli Ilderton. Holli is a senior store manager at Lululemon in Greensboro, North Carolina. She and I have been yoga friends and occasional workout buddies for a number of years. I'm confident you'll want to listen through to the end on this one as Holli shares her wisdom about leaning into joy, living life on purpose, and her fearlessness in having difficult conversations, among other many pearls of wisdom. But first, a word from our sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by Cheney Properties. Cheney Properties has specialized in residential and commercial properties in Greensboro since 1982. Personally, when I opened my first business, Greensboro Downtown Yoga, Dawn Cheney was not only excited about my vision and mission, she was a champion for what I was trying to create and ready to offer advice around every turn. The next time I need an office space or commercial property in Greensboro, I'll be calling Cheney Properties. Cheney Properties is excited to support female entrepreneurs in Greensboro, North Carolina. Visit cheneyproperties.com, that's CHANEY, to see what's possible today. Could you state your name for me, please?
Yes. My name is Holli Ilderton.
And Holli, how old are you?
I am 38 years old, getting to be 39 in a couple of months and then on to 40. Wow.
And you and I have known each other since...
Gosh, so I've been back here for 6 years now, and it had to have been very soon after I moved back here that we met.
Because you work for Lululemon.
Yes.
And so you came into the yoga studio that I owned.
Yes.
To take some classes.
Yep, I'll never forget it.
Me either.
I knew we were going to be friends right away.
Me too. Would you like an animal spirit card?
I would love a spirit card.
Awesome.
I didn't know I was going to get one of these today. I'm excited.
Okay. I'm just going to shuffle 3 times like I normally do.
These cards are so beautiful. I can see the pictures as you're shuffling them.
On the bottom.
Gorgeous.
Okay, so if you could put your hands on the cards and take a couple big, deep breaths for me. When you're ready, just cut the deck with your left hand. Flip that guy over. So Holli just flipped over a bear, and a bear is a creature of the earth. And creatures of the earth, that's the suit of survival and instinct. And the thing about creatures of the earth is they represent our relationship to fears and habits. Are you a creature of habit or a maker of your own destiny is what the cards of this suit kind of ask. So the bear itself is one of my personal favorite earth cards.
Interesting.
And I'm going to read for you what it says. The bear, waking from spiritual slumber, beginning anew. After a long winter, the bear arises from deep slumber. At first, the movement and effort is difficult. But the bear knows it's time to awaken and move toward the dawning light. The bear card represents an individual on the cusp of new directions and personal transformation. The initial weeks and months of this spiritual quest may feel tricky, cumbersome, and full of obstacles, but you have no choice, bear. Winter wanes, the warmth of spring emerges, and the journey of your transformation begins. When in balance, inner strength, yearning to grow. When out of balance, withdrawal, lethargy, heaviness, to bring into balance, movement or exercise.
I love this card.
How does that land for you?
It resonates actually quite a bit. I've had a couple of, I've done a couple of astrological readings lately that are surrounding this latest new moon, and not to get into all of that because actually I'm not an expert on it at all, but I find this card interesting because it mirrors what has come up in these readings around this new moon regarding a somewhat of a transformation, but almost more of a grounding into intuition in a way, like a release of old habits that is like really deeply profound. And in a lot of the astrological readings have surrounded career, which as you know, because we've worked together for quite a bit the past year, has been something that's been on my mind as like, what direction am I going to take? What's next for me? Where is my work in regarding career? And so it's exciting to me to get this card, and I actually feel it really deeply. I feel this like trust in my own intuition that I haven't felt fully like this before. And it's fairly recent. I would say like the last few months, it's like begun to spring up, and I'm feeling it more and more and more. And I think it's going to be like a long process, you know?
Yeah.
But I already feel like it's going to be a really, really good one. And I trust the length and the process in a way that I haven't felt trust in this type of thing in a while. So I love that. And of course the bear too, with the exercise thing. I mean, you know, we just got through with a Pure Barre class, and exercise is my go-to for release or regrounding. I need it. So
yes.
Resonates completely.
That's great. Yes, we did. We are sweaty and just got done tucking.
Just like we like
and
it.
Burning at a Pure Barre class in Greensboro. So you said that you feel like you're really trusting your intuition in a new way. What do you think has spurred that for you?
You know, I think it's twofold. So I'm getting ready to go on a really long trip at the in the middle to end of this summer, in about 6 weeks, and it's like this European vacation that is going to be quite an adventure, and it's this sort of bucket list kind of goal, and something that I knew I would do eventually, but I didn't know I'd be doing it this soon. I honestly think that actually going through and planning this and making it happen, taking a sabbatical from work, is allowing me to, I don't know, it's just like get excited and be grounded into what this journey of life is going to be in a different way, you know? And so I think that there's some of it's like I'm excited about that, but I'm also like, to do this trip, to take this trip feels so much like myself. Like I feel myself and the confidence in myself, and like in creating my life, and in doing this thing called life the way that I want to do it, regardless of what other people think. I feel that like in action. And I think that confidence is pouring over into other parts of my life too. And one of the things I decided this year was going to be about, which obviously a large trip like this, and I've been doing some other traveling, and been working with Alisha some, been working with you some, and doing a few other things too, is I just decided that this year was going to be about like self-discovery and joy, and a lot of joy. And I really and truly think that leaning into joy has provided me with this unexpected sense of inner, like really deep inner confidence that I didn't know was going to spring up from it, but it has. And that's just exciting to like see that all come together.
That is exciting, and it's really beautiful. It's funny, I was interviewing Danny Forrest yesterday, and one of her core values is joy. Yes. And so we were talking a lot about how that shows up for her and in her life. How are you leaning into joy this year?
I feel like I've got so much joy in my life right now. So definitely the travel. Travel for me is really big, and I'm just doing it this year. So travel's a big one. Just got a puppy, which like literally last week. And that's something that I've wanted to do. It's been this like desire that's been swirling around in my head for the last few years. I've been through a lot the last few years, a lot of personal changes, and finally the time just seemed right. And so like having a puppy is just like innate joy, you know, every day. It's like a reminder of pure, innocent joy. And then outside of that, like I also am choosing joy on a daily basis. So it sounds so maybe, I don't know, not boring necessarily, but maybe like overly simplistic. But actually just getting up and choosing that even in my work tasks, like how I'm going about work, how I'm going about my personal relationships, how I'm going about spending my time I'm going to find joy in all of it. And like choosing that every day has been really transformational too.
That's beautiful. I'm curious, with joy, in joy, big things or little things, the joy of planning a trip. There's also can be on the other side the stress of planning a trip with a puppy. There's so much joy that comes with that, but then there's the stress of like getting up in the middle of the night and taking them out.
Yes.
And do you think that joy and stress are things that have to go hand in hand? And how does that, even when it's good stress, how does that stress affect your day to day?
No, that's a great question, and something I hadn't actually thought about it that way before. But I think that stress is, and like as we're talking about this, it makes me want to like actually define, like look up the definition of stress and then maybe even redefine it for myself, because I actually think that I need some stress in my life, right? I need
stress is healthy.
Stress is healthy. It pushes me. I'm really invested in self-growth, and in growth in general. And I think growth necessitates stress, or maybe flip-flop those, I'm not really sure, but you know what I mean. Like you've got to have some stress to create growth. And I certainly feel that like with the puppy for sure. It's like getting up all the time, and like becoming attached to this thing that's outside of myself. But at the same time, that stress is like what is filling a void almost that was there, that I'm taking care of this thing like outside of myself, and it's really lovely, and that is absolutely stressful at the same time. Same thing with planning the trip. Like I do actually feel stressed out right now because we don't have some things booked that I want to have booked, and I need to do a little more research. But that, like, even thinking about that, what I just said, that sentence, like thinking about what that will lead to, like this afternoon or tomorrow, doing that research, reading up, knowing that process is what will actually bring me joy. And then, the end result will be actually being in it. But yeah, absolutely. I think stress and joy go hand in hand for sure. Now that we're talking about this is really interesting.
It is interesting. We always end up down some rabbit hole. So can we back up a little bit?
Sure.
And talk about your background. So what brought you to where you are now? What was your career path to bring you to a place where you can be taking a sabbatical?
Yeah. I know, you're right about, we always go down some rabbit hole, and probably anyone who knows me knows that I can easily jump right into a deep, lengthy conversation without covering the basics, which we need to do to give you a little bit of context. Welcome to my brain.
I love the way it works.
Yeah. I currently work for Lululemon. I manage the store here in Greensboro, North Carolina at Friendly Center. And I've been with Lululemon for a little over 5 years now. What brought me to Lululemon is a very interesting and winding path. And I would say that, I went to school, went to college, graduated college without really a clear sense of direction as far as career goes, but also jumped right into, actually at that point, I was managing a retail store, funnily enough, a store that I had worked at in college. And from there, jumped around to doing several different things, working in healthcare for a while. I worked for a really long time in the automobile industry for about 6 or 7 years, like before actually I moved here. And that was an insane environment to be working in as a woman. It taught me a lot. And it wasn't necessarily a bad experience. Altogether, it was very difficult in some ways, but I also had a lot of fun with it. And it didn't really resonate with me. I was kind of just doing all these things for a paycheck. There was really no long-term goal. And it was all about, like, what am I doing outside of work? That's where my goals came into play. And as I was in this winding career journey that was not really going anywhere, I found yoga. I started practicing yoga really back in college, but it got a lot deeper as I was becoming a young adult and probably searching for myself and searching for happiness and peace of mind. Started practicing yoga and eventually decided to get my 200-hour certificate and started teaching yoga. So I want to share that because it's really ultimately what brought me to Lululemon. And I started practicing yoga, teaching yoga, learned about this company called Lululemon, and was just kind of intrigued by it. An ad in Yoga Journal magazine is what sparked my interest. I just could see that there was something different about this company. It sounds so weird, but like I really and truly felt that. And fast forward several years later, I moved back to the Greensboro area. I grew up in High Point, so it's an area I actually I think had vowed never to move back here after I graduated high school and left. But I found my way back by virtue of my ex-husband. He got a job here, and my family has a generations old family business that's thriving in High Point, and it's in the automobile industry. And all along in the back of my mind, I had considered, perhaps I want to go back and work for my family's company and really grow it. Talk about a sense of purpose. It's right there. So that's what I did. And I came back here and started working for my family's company, and I liked what I was doing quite a bit, and I liked working with my family. I had no problems with that, but I still felt unfulfilled in a sense of purpose. So we had moved back here. My marriage wasn't going so well. We were struggling there. I had left all my friends. I was back with my family, working in this family business that I had grown up in that was so familiar in some ways. And then I felt like, what have I done? And so then I really started searching for my purpose. And I'm like 30 something years old, like thinking I'm a mess. Like, what am I going to do with myself? And so at that point, I found, you guys have probably heard of Danielle Laporte if you're listening to this podcast. I'm assuming it's a similar audience, but I stumbled upon the desire map and started working on my core desired feelings and getting into this kind of idea of creating my life rather than just letting the path unfold and just taking this next step that was apparent to me. And so I started searching around and started teaching yoga again a bit. And at that point, as I was looking for jobs and just really in exploratory mode, and also unsure if I wanted to leave my family's business, I saw that Lululemon was opening a showroom here and coming to this area, which this company was not in this area at that point. And I just knew, I thought, like, I think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't really know exactly why, but I think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And interviewed for a role with the showroom, got it, and that was 5 years ago. And fast forward, I've been with the company since then. And what drew me to the company was this like really cool branding and the product. And what's kept me with Lululemon and what I love about Lululemon is that there is this really authentic and sincere platform for self-work and self-growth, and it's all yoga based.
Yes. And
it just resonates with me so much. And it's like, I'm the same person I was when I joined the company, for sure, but I'm amplified in a way that I don't think I would be here without the work that I've been able to do with this company. I really love it. And it's a company also with great benefits. Hence, I get to take a sabbatical this year for about a month. So I'm just get to leave work for a month and go travel and see the world, and my job's waiting for me when I get back. So it's pretty amazing.
It's really amazing. I mean, so many companies their employees would benefit so much.
Oh, yeah.
And the company in turn would benefit so much if they did that. I know that there are those that have the perception of Lulu that it's, expensive yoga clothes, but yeah. It's one of my favorite, as a yoga teacher, it is one of my favorite brands, even though it is a luxury yoga brand. It doesn't really matter what you're wearing when you do yoga, but what I like about Lululemon is that it is so, for those that work for it, it is so growth centered.
Yes.
And how they invest in their employees makes a huge difference. But even beyond that, what they put into the community, I've never seen another company come into a community and give so much.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really, Lululemon, it's a big global company at this point, right? There's locations all over the world, but it is centered on creating community growth that's local to each store. Or showroom or shop or whatever platform it is. And the community work that we're able to do, that we get funding to do, that I actually get to create, and really be entrepreneurial with what we do, with this directive from the company that it is rooted in yoga and yogic philosophy, and it's rooted in growth in some way, shape, or form. So that to me is just, it's amazing. It's been a really fun ride. Really fun ride.
It's neat to see a company live its values.
Yeah.
You talked about creating your life, learning with Danielle Laporte's Desire Map, thinking really strategically about or uncovering the idea of wanting to create your life instead of it being something that just happens to you. Beyond the Desire Map, what do you do now to make sure that you're creating your life instead of letting it be something that happens to you?
Oh, such a great question. I've leaned into a lot of tools since I stumbled upon the Desire Map several years ago, and some of them have been through Lululemon, and some of them have been outside of Lululemon. And one of the things, I would say two of the big things that has helped me and consistently helps me day to day is establishing my core values. That's work I've done with you and work I've done before I even knew you. And core values work is, I think, essential, and everyone should be doing it. Like, figuring out what are those driving factors. That's it. Like, why are you doing what you're doing every day? What resonates with you the most? Like, if you can figure out your core values, then you can apply what you're doing to those. And if you can't apply them to those, then you shouldn't be doing what you're doing. And it's so simple. So I think that's a big one. One of the things we do at Lululemon that has been life-changing is vision and goals. And it's pretty amazing. We've evolved how we've done it over the years too, which has been pretty neat. But it's essentially like getting clear on your core values, getting clear on the areas of your life that you want to focus on, and then actually creating really strong goals that are measurable around these things so that you can see how you're in action, living into your core values or doing the things that you say you want to do. So goals is really big for me. And then honestly, like a stellar planner, like day planner or whatever you need to use. I'm using one right now that like you actually, it prompts questions at the beginning of the year. So you kind of map out your whole year. What do you want to accomplish this year? Who do you want to be this year? You know, what are your priorities this year? And then every single month it has like a mini version of that. And every single week it breaks it down too. And honestly, taking time to practice with this kind of tool is huge. I do it every week. I sit down for like 30 minutes, maybe an hour. And I think about my week ahead, what I have to do, but also like how do I want to be in the week ahead? And that's a huge practice for me. Like taking time for reflection is really big. And then of course I did a group with you, which was freaking amazing. Being able to like talk about what we're talking about right now with a group of women, all going through different phases of life, but all also prioritizing this kind of work, you know. And I think surrounding ourselves with a community of people that have a desire and are willing to talk about this stuff is so huge to finding happiness along the way and like getting clear on who you are and what you want in this life.
Yeah. And designing it yourself.
Designing it. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And those that are growth focused and willing to do the work are going to go far.
Yes, absolutely. And they're going to have a great time doing it. It's like that's you know, for me, I love accomplishments. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm a driven person. I want to succeed. But for me, it's more about the journey. And I trust and I know because I've experienced it that when we lean into these tools, we use them, we create goals, then actually our life journey that's taking us through wherever we're going to get at the other side is so much more joyful and fulfilling. And that's why I do it. Because I want to have a joyful, fulfilling life every day.
Back to that joy again, right? And I think that's one of the most interesting things about this conversation. We are talking about things that we want to accomplish and living a life on purpose and by design. However, it's not about setting arbitrary goals. It's not about checking off a bucket list of things just to check things off the list.
Yes.
It's about really getting clear on what's important to you personally and what aligns with yourself and your inner being or your soul, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
But being 100% in alignment with who you are and what's going to fulfill you.
That's it. Yeah, that's exactly what it's about. And that's why I love the work that you're in, honestly, with everyone that you're working with, be it an individual or in the community. It is essentially it's all about that. Like everything is about that. Everything is about that.
I think so, which is why I do this work. So what's it like working you've been in both, in a predominantly male field, and now you're working for a company that is predominantly female. What's that like?
It is a breath of fresh air to work for a company that is so female-centric, and where the workforce is, I think we're maybe 97% female. Maybe not. Maybe it's not that high now. We've got more and more men coming into the company and into this arena with us, which is actually really, really cool, because we're getting to do business in more of a feminine way, which is with men, and then showing them how we do it. And it's not necessarily, I would even say Lululemon doesn't have that intention, but it's like generated because there's so many women that work for the company, and going from working in a male dominated and honestly probably one of the most backwards and conservative, for lack of a better word, environments in the automobile industry, where there's just not a lot of progress is very slow. Women to an extreme degree are still seen as second class citizens and treated a lot differently. And I'm not saying that every man I worked for was like that. It's just actually the environment that is created by this giant industry, and there's going to be a lot of things that need to change for that industry to progress differently, and I think it will, but I think it's going to be a long time.
So it's a very testosterone filled environment.
All the testosterone, oh my gosh. So for me, going from that into this has just, it's I didn't realize it, I think, until I worked for Lululemon, but when I came to work for Lululemon and started working with women, by and large, not that it doesn't have its own challenges, but my whole body relaxed a bit. It's I could take myself off guard and actually just thoroughly be myself genuinely in a way that I hadn't experienced before. So it's really profound. And what we're creating right now, in this day and age, with everything going on in politics right now, and I think the women's movement really moving in a swift, really exciting direction. We're creating a new way of doing things. It really is happening in front of our eyes. We are a part of this, and to work for a company that is a part of that, I think, in a big way. It's creating a platform for how other companies can do things a bit differently and still succeed in business.
Right. Lululemon is an extraordinarily successful company. Yeah. And so seeing them do that with so many women plowing forward, is really exciting.
Yeah. It's very cool. It's very cool. It's like I said, it's just a breath of fresh air to be part of it.
What do you think is one of the most challenging things about working in predominantly female industry?
I think, and I don't want to get stereotypical here at all, but I do think there's a lot of emotion. I think it's a beautiful thing, because we're all humans.
Part of the strength.
Part of the strength. It's exactly part of the strength. Yes, very well said. And so I think that, but one of the challenges is actually moving forward, getting a lot of things done day to day and making decisions. It's what fires me up about the job is one of the challenges, and it's teaching women how to be confident and clearly like define and state what they want, what they need, how they're going to get it, what they're going to do, and then go do it. And I think I get to like help young women figure that out for themselves. And it's it's part of the challenge too, is like you're teaching someone along the way. And so it can slow things down a little bit sometimes, but I wouldn't do it any other way.
You're so lucky to have that challenge.
Yes, absolutely.
Very exciting. I'm curious, is there anything you've done recently that's been really scary and taken a lot of courage, but in the end, looking back, you think, gosh, I'm really glad I did that?
Yeah, when I was at a Wise Women panel a few weeks ago, you asked that question and it really got me thinking about it, because I think I can tend to, it's funny, courage is one of my core values. And yet, like when I was thinking back to this question, I tend to play it safe a lot of the time, and not jump all the time. So I think that as like joyful and exciting getting this puppy was, it was like a huge like jump for me to do this, because I've had dogs and cats in the past, but I haven't had an animal that's like really relying on me for a few years. And I knew that it was going to force me to change my life in a way that I was, I like to be free and just be able to go on a moment's notice to go on a trip or do whatever I want to do. And I knew it was going to change all of that. And I also knew it might not work, like I might get that we have another dog at home. And so that was it was scary. It was scary to take that leap. And of course, like, again, only a couple weeks in, like totally worthwhile right now.
You're madly in love, aren't you?
Yeah, madly in love. Madly in love, totally. Yeah, but I think that's a big one at the moment. And I think that courage to me, right, when I established courage as a core value and like really thought about this fear and courage, like overcoming fear, for me a lot of it is in candor that comes into play every day. And so while I don't have a good example of like any big thing that I've taken on that's taken a lot of courage lately, there are a lot of examples of conversations I've had and topics I've chosen to broach with people, both professionally and personally. And that's where my work lies right now. And I'm kind of really excited to be in it. It feels very clearing to have candor and courage as like a clear focus, and know that you're going to get into some sticky conversations because of it, and that's exactly what's needed.
It's one of my favorite things about you, because I know you pretty well, is knowing that you are not afraid to have difficult conversations, and as a friend, knowing that if I have something difficult to say, it's okay to say it, even if it doesn't feel good to say it in the moment.
Awesome.
That you are willing to go there and to do that work, and I can see that courage just in the personal experiences that you and I have had. And
yes.
I can only imagine the types of difficult conversations you probably have to have at work sometimes with those budding young personalities. Yeah. So I appreciate that, and I can see how that comes through as a core value and just how you live and work day to day and how you operate with your friends.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that means a lot to me. It's not that I ever in my life didn't want to be candid, but I just couldn't quite figure out how to do it. I like to I really like people to like me. And I like to, I'm a peacemaker for sure. I genuinely don't like to see people unhappy. I don't like to make people upset in any way, shape, or form. And I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily, but it's caused me in the past to not have conversations that I needed to have, or that to tell someone that something that I saw that maybe they needed to hear. And that provides a space, I think, of like shallow relationships and not being able to say what you need to say. So for me, it's taken courage to figure out how to be this way consistently.
Yeah. I think a lot of us women, and maybe men too, do want people to like us, and we do have that people-pleasing tendency. I think it's more women than men, but I'm not going to exclude men from having that feeling as well. If you were coaching somebody that you worked for to have courage and speaking up and speaking their mind, what would you tell them?
I would tell them that there's value in what you see, that there's always value in what you see and what you experience, and that the other person that you need to have the conversation with, whoever it may be, there's value in what they see and what they experience, and that almost like that's it. It's just a conversation, you know? It's like you're just sharing what you see with someone else, and then they can decide how they want to take that information in. And then, of course, there's some work that we're responsible for in the delivery of these conversations too. And I think that's where it goes back to this kind of yogic mindset, you know, going back to like, actually, are you in this conversation because it is truly, it's not egotistical, you know,
Right.
you're not trying to put someone else down or make yourself feel better. You're actually in it from a sense of discovery with this other person. And it's not that big of a deal. Like,
Right.
we always make things bigger than they are. Like, we're all such self-driven human beings that what we say usually doesn't impact someone so much as we think it's going to, you know? So like, to take it, just like take a step back and like, don't take it so seriously. Just do it.
Just have the conversation.
Yeah, just have the conversation.
Yeah, it's funny. Back in episode 1, I was interviewing Victoria Brownlee, and she was talking about having to have a really difficult conversation with a friend, and the worry that she had leading up to the conversation was actually bigger than the conversation
Always.
itself.
Yeah.
But there are, I think, some techniques that you can employ, coming to it with compassion, as well as, I mean, she went so far, and I think it's worth repeating, she went so far as to record herself having the conversation and noting
wow. That's cool.
where she looked away from the camera because she felt uncomfortable, and she's like, oh, that's a hot spot, you know? So I think that those things...
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
Yeah.
So knowing that there are things that we can do to make those conversations easier.
Yeah. Practice them with you can even practice with a friend, you know,
yeah.
with another friend that you trust, that's on this kind of same level and commitment to this. That's great. I might try that out myself.
Yeah, I know. Me too. What do you feel like your purpose right now is?
I think so. My purpose, right? So I think my purpose in general is to empower, as we were just talking about, others. The seat of that ability comes from my ability to empower myself and like learn about myself, to have confidence in my own story and where I am right now and in what I can give to others comes from that. So I'll go back to the bear card that's sitting in front of me still, that we pulled at the beginning of this conversation. And I think that right currently my purpose is to actually like continue down this path of grounding in my own sense of intuition and power and confidence, because that is an area I've done a lot of great things. I mean, I don't know that most people would, maybe they would, but I'm not sure about this, that would guess this about myself, but self-confidence has been a real struggle for me my entire life, into adulthood even. And at 38 years old, I feel like I'm finally just now, I mean, it's certainly been a path I've been on for years and years and years, but I finally just now feel this sense of self-confidence in a way that I've never felt before. So I think growing that is where my work is right now. That's the purpose of everything that I'm doing at the moment, which is pretty cool.
Very cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
If you could go back and sit down little Holli as a graduating high school senior or graduating from college, what would you tell her?
I thought about this too when I was at the Wise Women Wednesday panel a few weeks ago when you asked this question. It's the same theme that we're talking about now. It's self-confidence. It's like just do, like, own what you want to do and go do it, and don't second guess yourself all the time.
Right.
Like, I think I spent so many years, I have spent so many years of my life second guessing myself and my abilities. And when I was in high school, granted, I was highly accomplished, like straight A's, everything, honors everything, president of half the things, editor of the yearbook, all the things, right? And I still didn't really believe in myself that much. Like, I didn't really trust myself. I think I was doing a lot of that because it was the right thing to do, you know? And so I would go back and say, like, just own it. Like, own who you are like have the self-confidence, do what you want to do. You can do it. You can do anything.
I'm so curious about where the seeds of self-doubt in little girls come from. I know. Because I struggled with that too, the self-confidence, the being wrapped up in what others think of you and wanting to make a good impression. And I'm curious, like, what is that?
Yeah. I've again spent years thinking about this too, because I realized that it was present for me a long time ago, even when I couldn't unwrap it fully or like move out of it.
Right.
Or live into my ability to be self-confident. I knew that it was a problem. I knew it was problematic. So I've spent a lot of time thinking about that too. And I don't know exactly where. I think it's certainly societal. You know, I do think I spent like at this point over half of my life, like far over half of my life, trying to look a certain way and be a certain way because that was what it looked like to be successful and pretty and, you know, right and good is that was such a thing for me. Like I need to be good. Like
being
I need to
a
be
good girl.
Be a good girl. Yeah. And I think for me some of it came from I'm the oldest of 4 kids. And there was, you know, a lot of like interesting family dynamics that happened when I was young with some of my siblings and my parents going through a divorce and all this kind of stuff. And I think I felt a sense of responsibility to be the good one.
Yes. I can relate to that.
Yeah. And that totally like funneled into my adult life, you know, and it's like, no, my parents never told me I needed to do that. Right. They never.
My parents did tell me to be a good girl, but
I mean, mine did too, probably when I was really young. But I think I really just started to think I needed to do it in a far greater degree than they expected me to be it or do it. So it's interesting. I think this is another topic that I would love to dig into more.
I think if I had a little girl, I would tell her to fail.
Yeah. Just do it.
As many times and as hard as you can.
Do it and fail. Do it and fail.
Do it and fail. Because eventually, if you do it and fail enough times, you're going to eventually get it right.
Yeah, and you're not scared of the failure. You're not scared of looking messy anymore. And I think that's ultimately like what holds people back a lot of the time is this fear of looking a mess or looking like a failure to others. And if you fail enough times, you just don't care so much anymore.
Right.
It's one of the things that actually going through a divorce taught me. Like you're in this public platform and there's nothing that you can do. You look like a failure. Like you tried to do something, the biggest thing that anyone does in their life, right? And you failed at it. And it's very public. And I had to come to grips with not having this perfect looking life in a way that I'd never had to do before. And honestly, it was one of the most liberating things that I could ever have gone through. I would never want to go through it again. I would never want anyone to have to go through that. And my divorce wasn't even that bad, to be honest with you. It was very friendly, and yet it's just this really public failure. But it is liberating. And now I'm like, well, you know, my life doesn't look like I thought it was going to. It doesn't look like what other people thought that it should look like. And so now I get to fully create it. And who cares what anyone else thinks?
It's almost like a chain has been removed.
Yeah. Yep. And that is a really cool feeling.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there a motto or a piece of advice you use in your daily life?
Oh,
Or a quote you love?
Yeah, there's something, and this actually stemmed from that initial work that I started doing through the Desire Map and Danielle Laporte. But there was a quote that I think she says in the book somewhere where it says, "Show up, shine, let it go." And that to me is something that I like. That's what I aim to do, is just show up, be present, do my best, whatever that means that day, and then like let it go, right? Because some days are not going to be my best. Some days are going to be amazing, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. You just got to let it go and start again the next day.
Good or bad.
Good or bad. Yep. Good or bad, let it go.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know you're a very creative being, and I know you consider the work that you're doing and the expression of how you do that work an active creation. What keeps you creating when you don't feel like it?
Oh, That is a great question. What keeps me creating when I don't feel like it is I'm trying to think of the right way to say this because I know exactly what it is. I have felt value, I think I want to say felt because it's a pretty deep feeling, in aesthetic beauty my entire life. Like when I was a kid, I was super into art, all the things, painting, drawing. That like led me up through high school. Like that was my thing.
Because you were an art.
I was an art history major in college. Yeah. And I did a lot of studio art too. I don't do as much anymore. I need to like change that. I know I've been telling you that for like 3 years now. But
what's your buy one date?
I know. I need a buy. I'm setting buy when. I'm gonna figure this out. I'll get back to you on this. By the time this podcast airs, I'll have an answer.
You'll have a buy one date. Great.
Yes.
You have until probably the end of August, beginning of September.
Perfect. But I think what and this is kind of a long drawn out answer, but the value that I have always intrinsically felt attached to with aesthetics and with beautiful things, whether it be a painting or whether it be like a mountaintop scene, actual in real life, like hiking a mountain and seeing that beauty. It's the beauty. It's like being able to find the beauty and like knowing that creating the beauty, whether it be a conversation, a work of art, an experience, is what like humans give the world. And so when I don't feel like creating, I go back to that that initial feeling as even a child, that I was drawn to that, and knowing that is like ultimately how we give the world, how we give back to the world is creativity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Given our mutual love of yoga and how much you love working for a company that exemplifies the yogic principles, I normally ask the question, what's your favorite yoga pose? But I want to ask, what's your favorite yoga principle?
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's such a good question too. I think what yoga has taught me is presence. Is that I needed to quiet my mind in order to be fully present in my life. And so that is the lesson of yoga for me, is like, and that funnels through everything that I do. Yeah, is quiet. Just be quiet as I'm talking for an hour. But you know what I mean? Like it's more of like quiet the mind.
Yes.
Quiet the mind so that you can listen.
Spend time in silence.
Yeah.
Because that's when the inner being speaks.
That's right. That's it.
So how do you live a life of abundance?
Let's go back to that joy factor.
Yeah.
It's for me, living a life of abundance is in the journey. It's in every moment. It's like finding happiness and joy and like even growth, I would say. It's like in whatever I'm doing throughout my days, large and small. That's what allows me to feel abundance every day. Yeah, I think that's it. It's more of a feeling rather than like this set of things or how much money I have or what I'm able to do, which is all there as well. But I think it's there by virtue of the focus on joy in the moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Holli, thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Thank you.
I hope you were inspired by Holli's words of wisdom. If you've enjoyed this podcast, head over to iTunes, give us a review, and share this podcast with your friends so that we can keep bringing wise words your way. Check out our website, yokeandabundance.com, for more words of wisdom, creativity tips, and information about my group and individual coaching programs. Are you looking for a powerhouse collective of like-minded women? Then join the Yoke and Abundance Collective, a place for aspiring entrepreneurs, creatives, and seasoned business owners. In the YNA Collective, you'll get a discount on our next 3 in-person Wise Women panels, online goal-setting sessions, online monthly master classes to keep you on track, and a mastermind that puts you in the hot seat to make sure you're achieving your biggest goals and dreams. For more information, visit yokeandabundance.com and head over to the collective page. Now, tell us about your wise moments this week. When did you feel most wise? Tag us on Instagram with your wise moment from the week for a chance to have your wise words shared on this podcast. Use the hashtag #IamWise and hashtag #YokeAndAbundance. Betsy Bertram, at Betsy_Bertram, had this to say: as a woman who struggled with body image, when I'm kiting, I feel I access my wise self who reminds me that I'm strong, beautiful, and worthy. Thanks for sharing your wise words, Betsy. A huge thank you to our sponsor, Cheney Properties, and our editor and producer, Ira Sterling at Julia Sound Recordings. Remember, every one of us has wisdom within. Keep sharing your words of wisdom because you never know who you'll inspire.